distinguished alumni who have demonstrated outstanding achievement in areas such as citizenship, leadership, academic endeavors, and career achievement. Our goal is to recognize Princeton High School alumni that have distinguished themselves by their contribution in their field of work or study to the Princeton High School community and to society as a whole. By honoring these positive role models, we hope to inspire you, our current students, to understand the value of education, citizenship, and the possibilities to which they may lead. This year, the committee has selected Dr. Sarah Scruggs for the Academic and Career Hall of Fame. Dr. Scruggs graduated from Princeton High School in 1997. After high school, she received her Bachelor of Science degree in Exercise Physiology from the University of Illinois at Chicago. Dr. Scruggs also graduated with a PhD from the University of Illinois College of Medicine at Chicago in Physiology and Biophysics. She completed her postdoc fellowship at the University of California, Los Angeles, David Geffen School of Medicine in Functional Omics and Data Science. Throughout her career, Dr. Scruggs has been awarded numerous academic honors, held numerous leadership roles in professional organizations, authored numerous peer-reviewed articles, and been very active in her community. In 2016, Dr. Scruggs launched the Ruka Institute of Healing, where she serves as the Chief Executive Officer. She currently resides in Princeton, Illinois, with her husband Kevin and daughters Alice and Violet. Please welcome to the stage and congratulate Dr. Sarah Scruggs.
Can you guys hear me okay? All right. So thank you, Andy, Mr. Herring, the PHS board, teachers, but most of all, thank you, students. I really appreciate this. This is an honor. And I know you all were sort of voluntold to be here today. But I'm just respectfully requesting your time today. I know you don't know me, most of you don't, some of you do. And I don't know a lot of you either, so I'm asking for about 20 to 30 minutes of your time. And I'm hoping that from my story and kind of taking you through the long and winding, not too long, don't worry, but the winding path of my life and how I got to this point will in some way speak to you, maybe even inspire you. So here we go. So I grew up in this house right here. It's 1.5 blocks from the high school. Yes, I drove to school. And I spent a lot of time in these hallways as a kid. My dad was a football coach, track coach, strength and conditioning coach. My mom taught speech, English. She also worked in the TLC. You guys still have the TLC? It's probably called something different, okay. My parents were innovators. My mom started a school in 1981, Princeton Christian Academy. A lot of you have heard of it. My dad, I have to say, was the first person, I believe, to bring plyometrics to PHS. He would play John Cougar Mellencamp, Tom Petty, at volumes like way louder than what was healthy, and then we would all, do box jumps and strength and conditioning. They were great parents. We had a great time. My sisters, Rachel and Libby, also shown in the photo, and these are clearly for me, some of the awkward years. But that's who we were. So today I just want to highlight something for you. I give a lot of talks. As a CEO, I'm in Washington, D.C. a lot. I'm in Springfield a lot. I travel a lot just to bring what we do at Aruka to other areas of the country that need mental health in a rural area. But I do not talk to teenagers a lot. So I gave this a lot of thought and time, and I really tried to reflect. I worked probably harder on this talk than I have on a talk in the last 5 years. But not so much building the slides, they're not that technically advanced, but the thought going into this. I really wanted this to speak to you in some way. And as I was thinking about this room of kids, I thought, more than any talk I've given, probably ever, there's more opportunity in this room than anywhere I've probably ever been as far as giving a talk. So each of you is going to spend about 90,000 hours working during your lifetime. 90,000 hours. So your 4 classes cumulatively have a potential of 43 million work hours. You're going to give 43 million hours to this world collectively. Amazing. Have you ever thought about it that way? And if you think about money, this room, you're billionaires collectively. You will earn over $1 billion, all the students in this room. I want you to understand that. So I'm just going to compare it to the last talk I gave. I was in Washington speaking to some federal stakeholders about mental health. There were 25 in the room, much older than you are, and they had a potential of 520,000 work hours, 13 million in earnings. You guys have 43 million. I hope that excites you. Maybe it will one day, but that excites me, and that's why when I was thinking about this talk, I wanted to give you some things that you can take with you. So I also want to highlight that in addition to working and making money, you're going to spend 229,000 hours sleeping, 32,000 hours eating, and 108,000 hours on technology. So cumulatively, all of you together, you're going to spend 52 million hours on technology. And I say that not to, get on the train of, oh, technology's bad. It's not bad, it's wonderful. It's a beautiful thing. It can be bad, depending on how much time you spend on it versus what else you do in your life. But if you're talking about potential, if you want to do something else in your life that matters in this world, this would be a place to start. You have a lot of opportunity here to make change. You can't really not sleep. You can't really not eat. And you have to work. But this is up to you. So I'm going to take you on a little journey through my life and talk about some of the lessons. And in looking at some of the greatest humanitarians in the world, these are just 3 that I pulled out. I want you to see, if you think about 43 million work hours that you have collectively, Harriet Tubman, amazing, amazing humanitarian. She freed people in captivity. She escaped slavery herself. It took her 11 years to complete her mission, 22,000 hours. Norm Borlaug, you guys know who that is? Maybe my ag people do. He was a geneticist. He got the Nobel Peace Prize in 1970, and he created the first strain of disease-resistant wheat. He saved billions of people from starvation because he created a subtype of wheat that could grow anywhere and was resistant to disease. 13 years it took him, 27,000 hours. Martin Luther King, unbelievable activist, advanced racial equality, 12 years. So when I was looking at some of these great humanitarians, I thought, wow, I know they were alive much longer than 11 years, 13 and 12. But that was their window of opportunity. But there was a whole lot that came before that nobody talks about. And I want you to think about that when you think about your window of opportunity in this world. I also want to highlight the word vocation. When I say vocation, what do you guys think of? Yell it out. Job, work, right? So most people think of a job. But if you look at the word vocation, this is actually something my pastor talked about a couple weeks ago. It's much deeper than that. It's not a job. It's a calling. And we throw this word around a lot. I know you talk to your high school guidance counselors, Mrs. Scruggs, all of the mentors in your life that help you think about your next step. But it's much greater than a job. It's a calling. And as I was kind of reviewing the events of my life that led up to this point, I could boil everything down to kind of two themes, which I wanted to pose as questions to you guys. The first one, what are you doing right now, and what have you done in the past to build your character? What are those skills? They're really hard to quantify. And I don't expect you to answer right now or know this, but I'm going to talk about these in my life to try and give you some understanding about what I mean. The second one, what problem in the world do you want to help solve? What gets you fired up? We talk a lot about what we want to do in the form of a job when we leave here. But again, this is much bigger than that. It's a calling. What problem in the world do you want to help solve? If you close your eyes, you don't have to now, you just take a few breaths and you think about, what gets me fired up. That's what I'm talking about. So for me, when I was a little girl, I wanted to be a missionary. I was absolutely devastated when I saw people that were hungry. They lacked resources, they lacked medical care, they didn't have a home. It would devastate me. And I knew that from an early age. I was like, this is not okay, this is an injustice. So for me, that problem in the world since I was a kid was social injustice. That's what fired me up. And I say that at this age, or I express to you that I had that at this age because I do believe so many of you know the answer to that question already, and I want you to think about it. And then as I grew older, I started to build character. So I'm detail-oriented and thorough, and this came out in a letter I wrote my grandparents when I was in first grade. Dear Grandma and Grandpa, thank you for the postcards. By the past weeks, I have been finding out some news. On Saturday, February 1st, 1986, I went to the skating rink for a party. Laura Foster had her birthday. I hope you have been having a nice time. I have been praying for you. On Saturday, January 26, 1986, I went up to the high school to see Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. I was extremely detail-oriented. I was very specific in the way I communicated in first grade. This is a skill that all went into getting me to this point where I am now. I liked continuous improvement. I like to be critiqued. A lot of you hate that. Some of you hear me though, you understand. Being critiqued is not a bad thing. It drives you. How do you get better? How do you improve? How do you do more? So, in third grade, I took it upon myself to ask my dad. I said, Dad, write 10 things that you think are good about Sarah. And then write one thing you'd like to improve about Sarah. So my dad, being who he is, Sarah cares about other people's feelings. She's willing to do what needs to be done. Sarah has a good sense of humor. She's kind to people in need. She's very affectionate and caring. She enjoys being on time. She works very hard on her piano and homework. She's very creative and aware of her world. Sarah cares very much about her relationship with Jesus and his will for her life. Sarah is a doer and a go-getter. And the one thing he listed about my self-improvement was I would like Sarah to improve on her attitude toward herself and to remember how unique and special creation of God she is and will always be. I love that stuff. Now, I did ask for 10 things that were good about me and one thing I needed to improve on, so clearly I like to be affirmed as well. But nevertheless, continuous improvement, that's been something that has been a consistent theme in this journey. Mental toughness. Have any of you ever tasseled? Yes. Yeah. All right, if you haven't, you need to. See Coach Puck. Honestly, that job is the worst. You wake up at 4 a.m., you put on plastic, you get in the field, you're muddy, you're hot, but you have to keep that on to protect yourself from, the corn rash and all the things. You get cuts. Occasionally a porta potty is tipped over with someone in it. It's all the things, but detasseling made me mentally tough. Every job after that looked like cake. Teamwork. So I had the privilege of playing varsity all 4 years in volleyball and basketball. But as I reflect on that, I had skills, sure. I was strong, I was fast, I was agile. But I really believe that the reason I succeeded was because I knew my role on the team. I knew what role I needed to play with respect to my teammates. I understood that. I could also contort my body into a lot of different formations to make sure no ball ever hit the floor. I got the job done. But that teamwork aspect is really important. It's not about you. How can we make the team as a whole succeed? On the right side, that's me serving when we went to state in 1994, ISU Redbird Arena. It was amazing. Amazing experience. The teamwork. That's the bottom line. My junior and senior year, I've been on gym floors for years since I was a kid, playing sports, being active. But my junior year, I decided, hey, let's try acting. So, I was in the school play. My junior year, we did Guys and Dolls. I was Miss Adelaide, if any of you are familiar. And I was Rizzo in the play Grease, my senior year. I was terrified. It's scary. I can play sports in front of people who put me on a stage and I have to sing and act. I was terrified, but I did it. I built courage. And I really encourage you to do something that's out of your comfort zone. You'll build skills, you will. The bottom picture is me at the ice cream social. I played the harmonica for our senior song. Also, I'd never played the harmonica before, but it needed to be done, so I did it. Courage. Leadership. I was captain of our cheerleading team. Leadership in general can be extremely unseen. People don't see all the work you do, and it's unselfish. You serve. You serve because it's the right thing to do, not because you get any glory for it. And I think about my relationships with my peers, helping people, whether it's homework, giving them a ride, building them up, encouraging them. Girls, I don't know about you guys, but when I was in high school, we had a lot of self-worth issues. So encouraging my peers, building them up, that was a big part of leadership in high school. This is a note one of the cheerleaders wrote me, Sarah Kay, you were a really great cheerleading captain, go Tigers. And I always had a lot of fun with you. I hope you have a cool summer and enjoy college life. I know this sounds really dumb, but I looked up to you, like all year. And I'll miss your smiles in the hallway. I know, really corny, that's what she wrote. Leadership, important skill. Connection, friends. I want to challenge you. Are all the people that you hang out with, do they dress like you? Do they talk like you? Do they look like you? If that's the case, you're missing out. You are. People are something to be experienced, and there's so many different ones out there. I wasn't one of those people that really kind of had like a best friend. I kind of floated between a lot of different cliques. Because I was in a choir, I was in German club, obviously sports. I did a lot of different things. And I really believe that helped me in life. When you can connect with people that aren't like you, that's a skill. It's an important one. Discipline. I was a valedictorian, and I don't know what's going on with my hair there. It's like, got like these weird bangs, and I'm turned the wrong way. Anyway. Was it easy to get straight A's? Sometimes, other times no. But I had a goal. I wanted to get a 4.0. It took discipline. That was a skill. It's an important one. And you guys are doing that right now. So then there's another skill that won't be captured in these photos. But this is probably, if not the most important, one of the top 3 skills that I believe you need to be influential in this world. Resilience. So when I was 15, my uncle, who I love very much, my dad's only brother, and best friend, died by suicide. It wrecked my family. Man, it was rough. Suicide or any sort of unplanned death where you're not expecting it, it's just a really weird thing. It's very complex. Healing from that is very hard. The people that are left behind end up feeling responsible. Even though we know that's not true, that's typically what happens. And trauma is a very weird thing too, because there's literally a shift that happens in your brain and you start to see the world differently. How you see yourself changes. Your relationships change. And all of these things were happening all at once, and I'm 15 years old and just trying to understand, trying to pick up the pieces. I saw my dad, again, his best friend, only brother. My dad could bench over 400 pounds. He was a big, strong, tough guy, struggling. It was hard on me. And I know some of you right now, there's things going on in your life where you feel like that. You can't make sense of it. You can't understand it. It's hard. And I thought to myself, you know, when I get out of here, it's all going to be better. Have any of you ever thought that? You don't have to raise your hand. But guess what? That's not true. It goes with you. It affects everything. See, our brains are made to process emotions in a certain way. You can do the hard thing and process with a therapist. Sometimes you need them, sometimes you don't. I would highly recommend one. And that's a healthy way, but it's a longer process, and it's peeling back the onion of your life and understanding how you're perceiving and processing that information. That's one way. The other way is you can short circuit that whole process and self-medicate. Alcohol, drugs, meaningless sex, porn, technology. These are all ways that you can short circuit that processing pathway. And that might feel good in the moment. But I don't know if you know this, but those short circuit, those quick fixes change your brain indefinitely. So doing the hard thing of processing those emotions takes work, takes commitment, but it's worth it. I left for college, broken. On the outside, I had it made. Honors college, got in, great score on my ACT, got into the school I wanted, got into a special program because of my grades, but I was broken. And it wasn't until my sophomore year of college where a nurse practitioner, God love her, Sandra Fonts was her name. She looked at me and she said, "Hey, you okay? What's going on?" And it was for the first time, because we grew up here. There was nothing. People in this area when I was a kid didn't even believe mental health was a thing. They thought it was a moral issue. So this nurse practitioner took an interest in me and walked me through that. She taught me all about anxiety. She taught me about how it's not a sign of weakness. It's a biological phenomenon. It's genetic. It's all these things. She taught me facts. She taught me science. And she taught me that there's a way to heal. And that's exactly what I did. So this skill called resilience was something that took years to build. And I will tell you, it's really hard to build resilience without going through something tough. And I don't wish that on any of you. But I'm willing to bet that sometime in your life you'll go through something hard, and you have a choice. So then, after undergrad, one thing I learned in therapy was, hey, the way I'm wired, I need to set goals. I have to have them. I love them. I like to set my sights on something, and then I like to make a plan to achieve that. It's something that really, is a part of me that I was kind of not aware of until therapy. So I started running, and I'll tell you, those of you in team sports, when you go to college, unless you're playing collegiate ball or collegiate function, that goes away. You got to create your own thing. You can play extramurals, intramurals, you can do a lot of different things, but for me, that thing was running. I like to move my body, I like to set goals. So I ran a marathon. I trained for about 6 months, ran a marathon, goal setting, learning about myself, empathy. I went to Ecuador and some other places. I immersed myself into another culture, into someone else's world, and learned about their struggles, what they were going through. Incredibly powerful experience. This little girl on the right had fetal alcohol syndrome. Not her fault. And it was amazing to get to care for her for those 2 weeks. But I saw things that built my empathy, and guess what? Those things happen right here. You might not be aware of that growing up here, I wasn't. But those things happen every day in this community. You don't have to go to Ecuador. Curiosity. I did my PhD, like Mr. Berlinski said. I wanted to learn more. I was hungry for knowledge. And really, PhD, yeah, there's a lot of facts and knowledge and physiology and biophysics. And really what I did is biophysics is basically using math to describe biological phenomena. So I studied heart muscle. So we'd study the contractile properties of that muscle, and we'd describe it with math. And then we'd see in heart failure, for example, how that contractility would change. Pressure, volume, force, velocity, power, all that good stuff. And that's what I did in my PhD, but the real thing I learned is how to think. Curiosity. Guess what? Most of the things you read in textbooks are our best guess. Some of this stuff you can't measure directly because it's biology, it's tiny, tiny organisms, tiny little molecules. You can't measure them oftentimes directly. You can't really prove something, you can only disprove something. So PhD taught me how to question everything, how to have an accurate understanding of what I'm looking at and how to challenge it, how to advance the knowledge in a certain area. It was a powerful experience. This is my PhD mentor, Dr. Solera, amazing man. I got married. Humility. Guess what? It's not about you anymore. Some of you know this guy. I'll give you a hint. You are worth it. I married Kevin. This is us after our wedding on Michigan Avenue. It was kind of a fun night in Chicago. It was super busy. So we had an arranged ride. It was late, so we ended up just walking down Michigan Avenue to our hotel. People were honking and yelling and screaming for us, like cheering us on. I felt like a celebrity. It was a cool night. But guess what? Statistics show you that whoever you marry will be different from you. You're going to have to learn how to be humble, how to serve. I like to mountain bike in Colorado. Kevin likes to play Guitar Hero. You got to do both. I would say marriage is the ultimate lesson in humility. Innovation. Went to UCLA for my postdoc. This is me in the top left. I was 6 months pregnant. Not my plan. to plan it out that way, but I moved by myself to LA, 6 months pregnant, started a new job, worked somewhere between 70 and 80 hours a week. That's me in the lab up top. So what I worked on it, and this is Ronald Reagan UCLA Medical Center. What I worked on there was we'd go into the operating room across the street, we'd take a cardiac biopsy from someone in surgery, put it in liquid nitrogen, go back across the street to the lab, we'd grind the tissue up and we'd look at all the molecules. So proteomics was the science, it's the name of the science, and it's essentially looking at all 30,000 proteins of the heart at once using a technique called mass spectrometry. So that's the science I conducted. These are my lab mates. I think we pulled an all-nighter. But innovation was the lesson for me in that experience. I realized that I had a skill for looking at problems and being able to break them down into their individual components and then being able to develop a solution. That's a skill. And to create a new path forward. Responsibility, time management. I became a mom. These two gorgeous little squishes, Alice and Violet. I'll tell you one thing, you think you might not have time now, you do. You find out that how much time you had once you have kids, because that goes away. Truly, your time is so valuable right now, because when you become a parent, it's absolutely imperative to manage your time well. These little helpless beings require so much love and so much care, and it's the best, it's the absolute best. But you definitely learn responsibility and time management. Those are skills. So I'm coming back to these two questions. What are you doing to build your character? Well, for me, I just kind of took you on a little journey through my life. These are the skills I built over time. And then paired with that problem in the world, social injustice, all of the things in my life up to that point, up to about 2016, culminated in what I believe my vocation or my calling truly was and is. And that's Aruka. So we moved back here, high suicides, high rates of overdose, lots going on in this community with respect to mental health. And I was like, these are my people. I can't sit here and know that this is happening 2,000 miles away. I gotta do something. And I started to talk with people in the community and try and understand the issue a little bit more. I said, we can do this. I've never been a CEO. I was a scientist. That's what I was good at. But like I showed you on the previous slide, don't get hung up on the title of the job. Think about the skills you need to get the job done. And that's exactly what I did. I thought, okay, we can measure stuff. I love data. Let's measure the need. Started looking into all of these statistics, suicide, overdose, how many people need help that can't get it, etc. And I thought, all right, there's a grant out there somewhere for that. And then I used my writing skills. I wrote grants at university, and I had a mom as an English teacher. I used my writing skills to bring in funding. But let me tell you, those first 2 years of startup, when you start a new company, are hard. So hard. Didn't take a salary. If it was just a job, it wouldn't have lasted. That's why the calling piece of that is so important. You have to believe in it long before you ever see it. And this is really my only slide on Aruka. I didn't put anything on here because I just wanted to quickly let you guys know kind of where we're at today. It's happened fast, 7 years. We started with 3 staff, $0. We fought hard those first 2 years. Fought hard for funding. all the legal and compliance stuff that go along with starting a new organization. Talked to people in the community, tried to understand more fully what the need was. Year 2, year 3, we got our first federal grant. And I'll tell you, it's been rapid growth since then. But we don't grow just to grow, we grow to meet the need. The need is so great, and this community has been underserved for so long. We could grow a lot faster than we are. So we now have 70 staff. Our budget's $6 million. And we serve 5 counties, which is over 3,000 square miles, round the clock, 24/7. It's been an amazing experience, but I'll tell you, all of this stuff that I described to you, the stuff, with the kindergarten letter and the high school experiences and all those lessons, absolutely critical. Couldn't have done it without those experiences. And honestly, Aruka has changed this community for the better. This community will never be the same. Now, if you need resources or someone you know, you can get to them in that same hour. And that didn't exist before. So here's the takeaway. Guys, nothing is ever wasted in your life. Nothing is ever wasted. You might be like, in a really rough spot right now, thinking, you know what? I'm never going to amount to anything. It's over. Done. Too hard. I'm telling you, from someone who has lived that, hang in there. Find someone. Mrs. Scruggs, Mrs. Palovi, Mrs. Cochran, Mrs. Markham, a teacher, a mentor, a parent. Find someone to talk to about that. Someone that will breathe life into you. Because honestly, it's not over. And you will actually use those negative life experiences to build your story, to impact others. Because when you go up to someone and you say, hey, I want to help you. And they're like, yeah, you don't understand where I'm coming from. You've never been through anything hard. And you can say, yes, I have. Immediately, you gain credibility in their life. You can use those life experiences to impact others. Nothing in your life is ever wasted. You have 2 choices with your life experiences. You can stay where you're at, or you can reach out. And I encourage you, if you're struggling to reach out, guys, there's people here that care. And if you can't find anyone, if you don't have anyone you're comfortable connecting with, this is my contact info right here. You can contact me, and I will get you to where you need to go. So in closing, I want you to know that as a PHS Hall of Famer, it's funny, it just sounds funny coming out of my mouth. My role, or my most important role, I should say, is being here with you today. As I said, contact me if you want to talk. I'm not a therapist. If you're in crisis, don't call me. Call 988. But I am here for each and every one of you if you guys want to chat about anything that spoke to you today. So in closing, listen to that calling. Listen to your calling. What is that inside of you that fires you up? Build your character. See the experiences, the things you're going through right now as ways to build who you are, build those soft skills. And go Tigers. Thank you very much.